Way up in northwest Montana, just south of Glacier National Park, there's this brutal stretch of forest that almost nobody talks about. It is the unforgiving backcountry called the Great Bear Wilderness. And if you look this place up, it looks like Mother Nature's greatest creation. All of the photos make it look serene, glassy rivers, endless pine forests, and snow-capped peaks glowing like they protect the place. They call it the purest place on earth. They say it's the closest thing to untouched that we've got left. But if it was so nice, why is it so empty? And why do people never seem to come back to visit twice? Nobody ever mentions what really goes on in that wilderness, the strange things that keep happening there. There is something seriously wrong out there in that stretch of Montana backcountry, and we had no idea how dark it really was until we got there. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, please like the video. You know it's going to be a good one. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing. We have an entire channel for you to binge. And if you're watching on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review at the end of the video. It helps more than you think. I didn't grow up in the country. I didn't grow up near forests and rivers and all of these outdoor activities. Nobody taught me how to fish. Nobody taught me how to hunt. But as you get older, you start to want to do these things. You don't know what you missed out on until you start to see it, especially with the internet. So once I entered adulthood and I started watching all of these videos of people going out into the wilderness and fishing and going out and hunting elk or deer and bringing it back to their family and having meat for the entire year, it really called to me. I like the idea of having a connection to your food, and I also like the idea of going and doing something difficult, like going way out into the wilderness and hunting for it for yourself so you could really appreciate it. So I started mentioning to my wife and my friends that I wanted to go on a hunting trip. I didn't even really know how to start. I know you have to get licenses, I know you have to get gear, I know there's certain states that people hunt a little bit more often. And one of my good friends who's named Ebro also really wanted to go hunting. So we're sitting around the table one night, and I guess we're both talking about it a lot, and our wives heard us. And behind our backs, they conspired to get us a very good Christmas present. So apparently they had done all of their research, they looked up the best hunting in the country, they looked up the best guides where we should go, and they saved up money on the side, and they surprised both of us. They just handed us both an envelope, and we opened it up, and we both had an itinerary. And initially we thought, oh my god, they booked us a vacation, we get to go on a trip. And then they go, no, you guys said you really wanted to go hunting, so we got you a spot at like the best hunting place. And immediately I'm looking at this Christmas gift when I think I'm going on a beach vacation, and I realize that I'm going on a mission. Because as I'm looking through this itinerary, I'm like glancing up at Ebro and I'm like, okay, this is a very legitimate hunt. This isn't driving to your local forest preserve or driving up to Michigan, doing a little bit of camping. Hopefully you get a small white-tailed deer. That was not this at all. They booked us the most legit hunt that I had ever seen. I didn't even know they did hunts like this. And we only had about 3 months to prepare for it. Everything was booked, the down payment was paid, and some of our other presents was some of the gear to go on this trip together. And yes, of course, we were excited, like we felt something in our chest, like, wow, we have been talking about this. They set this up for us. Let's do it. Like, this is really exciting, and it's something that we get to do together. So the only thing that we have to do is to get into shape and get the rest of the gear over the course of the next few months, and before you know it, it's the weekend of the trip. They didn't just book us flights into Montana, they booked us flights to Glacier Park Airport. And then from Glacier Park Airport, we had to drive deep into the Montana wilderness. Like, I'm talking an hour drive from this airport to this ranch that was in the middle of the woods. I had never been in such immense wilderness before. Like, we've done national parks, we've done hikes, we've done camping trips. This felt different. And not only did we drive all the way into this ranch that was in the middle of nowhere, from this ranch, this wasn't an ordinary hunt. We don't stay at that ranch and go hike out 2-3 hours and go hunting and come back at night. No. We get there, we sleep one night there, and the next morning we pack up a bunch of mules. Like, I'm talking 6 or 8 mules. And then we ride horseback with the mules for like 8 hours deeper into the rugged country of Montana, and we set up a base camp 8 hours away from the ranch that was already in the middle of nowhere. And I'm explaining all of this to you just so you understand how intense this was. And this was our first hunt ever. Like, I'd been to Dudleytown hunting, but we barely even hunted. So before you know it, it's the next morning, and it's time for us to get going on this 8-hour horseback trek. But first we have to meet the people that we're going with. So they had booked us a 3-man hunt. There's 1 guide and 3 people that are going to do the hunting. They did this because it was a little bit cheaper, significantly cheaper to be honest, but we didn't have a 3rd guy ourselves. So there was a solo hunter that was coming on our trip with us, and we figured if he's paying this pretty penny to go on this guided hunting trip, he's probably pretty into it. He's probably not a bad guy. And he wasn't a bad guy. He was just annoying. So we meet our guide. Our guide is named Chance. Chance is awesome. He's very knowledgeable. He's serious, but he's willing to throw a joke here and there. He's a cool dude through and through. Like, we are very excited to be going on this hunt with Chance and get to know him a little bit, because being a hunting guide out here, super impressive. I bet he's seen some crazy things. I bet he's got some awesome stories for us. We're pumped to be around Chance. But the other dude doing the trip with us is named Jake. And I'm open to anybody. I'm down to be friends with anybody that I meet. My wife will tell you I'm an absolute golden retriever. And Ebro is too. We want to have fun. We want to make friends. But to all the dudes that are listening, they'll know what I mean by this. He wasn't a guy's guy. He was like selling himself to us the second we met him. There's a way that you interact with new guys. Very casual, little light chit chat, a joke here and there. You get to know each other over time. And then there's the type of guy that you meet, and it's like he's doing a sales pitch to you about himself, immediately oversharing and giving us a little bit too much personal information and why he's here. And he starts kind of talking gossip about people in his life, like people he had to get away from for a few weeks, and that's why he's here. And that's never really a good sign when you just meet somebody and they're like, I'm already telling you a narrative about somebody in my personal life. In case you ever meet them, you're gonna think they're a horrible person. I just think that's a weird thing to do. And I think most people think that that's a weird thing to do. Because 1, I'm probably never gonna meet these people. So why are you telling me all of this dirt on some person that's messing up your life? Guys don't talk like that. If you were actually here to escape that, you wouldn't bring it up. You'd just be chopping it up with the boys and we'd be having good laughs. But instead, you're bringing your drama to boys' time. Boys don't do that. So right away, me and Ebro's spidey senses are going off, like, he's not going to be a fun guy to be around. But it doesn't really matter, because when you're on a trip like this, it is very serious. We're being pretty quiet on a lot of the hunting portions, and we don't have to be near him the whole time. If anything, it's Chance's job to entertain this guy. It's not our job. I don't know how else to say it. I felt a lot of insecurity coming off of him. And this was one of his first hunting trips ever as well. So Ebro and I are dealing with the immensity of the challenge that we're about to take on. And we have this dude reeking of insecurity, but also kind of hyping himself up. Like I said, a sales pitch. But me and Ebro throw each other some looks. We throw Chance some looks like, you hearing this guy? And he's like, part of the job, guys. We're not gonna be mean to him. We're not bullies. Hopefully he loosens up. Maybe he just has a little social anxiety. We all load up the mules, we get on our horses, and we start on this journey. And at first it's exciting. You're on horseback. We aren't used to being on horseback. This is pretty rugged terrain. It's difficult, it's fun. We're shouting over to each other. We're having good laughs. It's a good time. It really feels like an adventure. But then an hour passes. You're like, I'm getting a little tired on this thing. My quads are burning, my groin's burning. 2 hours pass, 3 hours pass. You're like, my butt is getting sore from this horse. 4 hours pass, and you realize we're only halfway to base camp. You're starting to get exhausted. You take a break here and there, but you start to look around and you're like, wow, I drove into the middle of nowhere. Now we don't have a vehicle, we only have horses, which I'm already uncomfortable on, and we're going further out. And that's when my doubts started to creep in. I saw it on Ebro's face too. We exchanged a little banter. He's like, man, the girls really got us the most intense hunting trip, huh? And I'm like, dude, we're far out there. How you feeling? And he jokingly said, not so good. And I agreed with him. I felt like we bit off a little bit more than we could chew with this. Obviously, we're not going to express that to Chance. We're not going to be like, hey, can we actually head back? The ranch was a little bit cozier. We don't think we're ready for this. We're already 4 hours out. We might as well get to base camp. But then another hour passes and another. And I'm exhausted from not walking or hiking, just riding this horse. And we eventually get there. We are in the middle of nowhere. I am talking the wilderness, so far away from any level of society that when you look around, you either take in the beauty and you feel a little bit of euphoria, or you get something that feels almost like island fever. Like, I am surrounded by an ocean of wilderness. If I get lost, there's There's only wolves and bears and death. I can't survive out here by myself. You start to feel the pressure of that responsibility, the responsibility of your own well-being that you usually don't feel on a daily basis. Everybody listening to this is on a smartphone or on a TV or on their couch. You guys could go to the grocery store, you could order food. You have your bed, you have your blankets, we have air conditioning and heating. When you're out that far, you forget what all of those comforts do for you. They call them comforts for a reason. They're comforting. You're looking around and you're like, this place does not care about me or my comforts. I need to survive here. It really shocks you into reality. When we get to base camp and we start helping build everything out, and we know that the hunt starts the next morning, because like I said, this is an 8-hour trek. We're not gonna hunt that day. And we help build out these tents, we build out the campsite in general. There's a bunch of equipment that we brought in on the mules, so base camp is very comfortable. But it takes a while to build out. It is like legitimate manual labor. So by the time we're finished, and Chance is making us dinner, which was an awesome thing that was a part of this, you get prepared a legitimate culinary experience at base camp because we bring the mules in, so there's ingredients and there's pans and they're fire roasting meat, and it's a really awesome experience. I had never had food that tasted so good, but I felt like all of my energy that I had for the hunt was exhausted on the trek in. And I'm in my tent that night looking around and I'm dozing off because I'm so exhausted. But I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. This is a 6-day hunt. I am here in the middle of nowhere, 8-hour horseback ride away from the ranch that's in the middle of nowhere. And it is day 1. I wake up the next morning sore and exhausted. I unzip my tent, Ebro's crawling out of it, and I see it on his face. He's like, dude, we messed up. I am not ready for this. But what are we supposed to do? Tell Chance that we need a day's rest and we're gonna let him leave and we're at base camp in the middle of nowhere by ourselves? No chance. So we put on our hunting gear, we grab our rifles that we're not very good with in general. The reality is we might miss when we find an elk and we might go home completely empty-handed. So we're dealing with not even sure if we belong here, not even sure if we're ready for this experience. And also the fact that we might go home empty-handed because of how ill-prepared we are. It's a very emasculating feeling, but we're doing our best. We're keeping it cool. We're pretending to be confident. And we go out the first morning on this hunt. And you don't really start the hunt, in quotes, until you're about 2 hours away from base camp. And Chance knows the area. He's like, usually there's elk out here, so we're gonna keep it low. I didn't realize all of the details that went into this. Yes, we YouTubed as much as we could, but Chance is out there like a legitimate predator. We see some game in the distance and he's weaving his way through these rolling hills in a very specific manner so that the wind is hitting us in the face and not coming from behind us. Because if the wind is coming from behind us, our scent will go to the game and they'll run off and we won't even get close. I didn't realize how much we actually had to stalk these animals. And if we messed up, they run away and we aren't fast enough to catch them. I didn't realize how quiet we had to be, how intense we had to be, how tactical we had to be. Hiking for 2 hours, holding all of this gear in the rugged country of Montana, with your fingers getting cold, holding a rifle, is hard enough. But we're also crouching, crawling, whispering, and hyper-focusing on being predators. The mental focus it takes to have composure and to get even close to any of these things is so draining. I never experienced anything like it. And we went back to day camp on day 1 empty-handed. We didn't even get close. All of us made mistakes. All of us blew our chances. But don't worry, we have 5 more days. Morning of day 2, unzipper the tent, stick my head out. I see the regret in Ebro's eyes. He sees it on my face. We nod, let's go again. Exhausting day 2. I got my boots soaking wet. Early in the day, completely miserable day. We got kind of close to one elk. He told me to take a shot at it. I couldn't stop my hands from shaking. There was no point in me even pulling the trigger. I would have missed by 10 feet. This elk didn't even run away. It didn't even see us. We did a pretty good job stalking it. I was just shaking so profusely that it walked into a bunch of trees and we just didn't have a shot at it anymore. And there was no efficient way for us to get down to its level to get another better shot. We would have had to hike like a mile around, and by that time, the thing's gonna be gone. We're not gonna be able to keep an eye on it. Mind you, I knew this was gonna be hard, but I thought it was gonna be like point and shoot, we got it. I had no idea just how difficult it is to have a successful hunt. Ebro had a chance later in the day. He got a shot off, but he missed. But we didn't see a third one that day. We got all the way back to base camp. I dried my feet near the fire. I was completely miserable. Day 2, we still have multiple days left. I go to sleep, wake up the next morning. I feel like it's Groundhog's Day. I'm living the same miserable day over and over again. but we do our best. But that entire day, I wasn't as locked in as I was the previous days. I was really trying the previous days. Being totally honest, I knew at that point I bit off more than I could chew. My body was failing me. My mind was failing me. But the pressure of being in the middle of nowhere with days ahead of us, I had to hang on. I couldn't break out here. And me and Ebro had some exchanges like, dude, can we do this entire week? Like, how are you feeling? I felt like I was gonna get sick. He's like, dude, I already have a sore throat. And we're having those kinds of laughs that are like those miserable laughs, like how I imagine soldiers in the trenches would have with each other. Like, this sucks, but what's the point in not laughing about it? But I knew that he wasn't having a good time. I wasn't having a good time. Chance was definitely having a good time, even though he's responsible for all of us. And Jake just never shut up, unless we were on the hunt. That was the best part about being out there, is that every time Jake would try to talk, Chance would be like, hey, let's not shout. Because once we were back at base camp, oh my God, yap. Dude couldn't stop talking about himself. It was insanity. Never asked us a question. I don't even think Jake knew our names. Me. But it's day 3. We're on this like really nice ridge where we have really good cover, and Chance pointed out that there was a lot of foot traffic. We could even see it. There was like a little bit of snow and a little bit of mud here and there, and you could see the hoof tracks. So it was clear elks go through here all day, every day. So he's like, let's wait here for a little bit. I know you guys are getting tired. We have a couple days ahead of us. So let's rest here and try to get lucky. I loved the sound of that. I was sitting down, leaning on a tree. It was Jake's turn anyway, so I'm not even looking out for elk. I'm mentally exhausted, thinking about how many excuses that I could make to go home. None of them made enough sense to me to actually try, but I was really daydreaming about it. A shower, I would have killed for a shower. And right as I'm considering standing up and pretending to roll my ankle so I could get back to my comfortable bed, Chance signals to us that he sees something. So we go over to pretend to be supportive for Jake, who's ready. And he's like, there's one right there. And we see this large elk come out of this tree line, and the entire trip was worth it. This was the most beautiful animal that I had ever seen, with the most beautiful landscape behind it. It was a massive elk with the antlers that you think about, like multiple points, with the eye guards coming out of the front so you know it's of age that you could actually shoot it. But this thing was majestic, and this thing was completely white. I didn't even know that there were white elk. And I don't mean regular white. I don't mean it had some snow on its back or it had like a patch of white hair. I mean, this thing was white. All of the fur was white. The face was white. The legs were white. The antlers were regular color, but this thing looked like it was out of a fairy tale book. It was incredible, and it was so free. It was like Mother Nature incarnate, just walking through this clearing in the mountains of Montana. And in that moment, looking at it, I was like, oh my God, it was so worth it coming out here just for this moment to see that thing. And Chance puts his hand over the barrel of Jake's gun and pushes it down, and he says, we don't shoot those. And he basically tells us how lucky we are to even see that. He's like, soak it in, guys. This is what it's all about. Like, he knew the exact emotion that we were feeling. And I could see Ebro was feeling the same thing. All of this intense struggling and hardship, all of the mini battles you're fighting in your mind, just being out here, having the privilege to see an animal like that in a landscape like that, makes all of the hardship worth it. And I could see in Chance's face that he lives for this exact moment. So we scoot closer to Chance and we're like, dude, what is that? He's like, some of them look like that. I've only seen one other time. It was about 15 years ago. The natives used to worship those things like they're the spirit of the forest. And honestly, I believe them. I mean, look at it. The thing's beautiful. And we're watching this thing walk across. I never want the moment to end. And right as this beautiful creature is about to pass into a tree line, we hear the sound of 2 bricks slapping together. Almost pops our eardrums. And I see the impact on this thing's side. Jake scurried around and shot it. Very quickly, guys, this video is sponsored by AG1. My days get chaotic. Long drives, late nights, strange places. So I built one habit that helps me stay on top of everything, and that's AG1. AG1 is a daily health drink. 1 green scoop into your morning water and you're done. It combines multivitamins, prebiotics, probiotics, superfoods, antioxidants, all in one simple step. I'm not the type of guy that has 10 different supplement bottles on my counter every day. I need a habit that I could actually do and do consistently. Scoop, shake, go. It helps me feel supported, steady, and ready, even when my schedule is absolute chaos. That's the whole goal here. Consistent basics that fit in a real busy life and support the body's natural defenses. If you want an easy daily win, head to my link or scan the QR code to claim your free welcome kit. when you subscribe to AG1. You'll get vitamin D3 and K2, a shaker bottle, and a sample pack of all 3 new AG1 flavors. All right, let's get back to the story. I can't believe what I just witnessed. I knew that Jake wasn't super socially intelligent, but Chance literally put his hand on the barrel of his gun and put it down, and was like, we don't shoot those. And we were all sharing a moment like, wow, this is incredible. And this dude weasels around our group to get a better angle and takes the shot. And I saw the bullet enter the side of the elk, and my ears are ringing because we weren't expecting the shot. We all had little earplugs that, you know, when somebody's about to shoot, you put them in. But once we knew that nobody was shooting, we pull them out. And this dude still goes around and takes the shot. And after it connects, he's shouting in celebration. I'm talking, saying like, hoorah. He's making all of the noise. Throws his rifle on his shoulder. He's like, I got that thing right in the chest. I mean, talk about a bullseye. Like hyping himself up, almost doing like locker room talk. And he's saying it to us. Like, you guys see that? Hit it on my first try. Like almost trying to like rib me and Ebro for missing our first 2 shots. And we are looking at this dude, I mean perplexed. All of us. What is wrong with this man? Ebro and I don't know what to say. We're not the authority here. But Chance says, you shouldn't have done that. You're not allowed to do that. And I shit you not. This man Jake replies to him, yeah, no, who's gonna find out? Who's gonna tell him? Like as in like, this is our little secret. Like there's nobody around. How will anybody know? How will they know? He is not taking it seriously. He doesn't understand that what he did is going to get him into trouble. And Chance puts his face into his hands. He's like, dude, that is going to be a massive fine. And it's like Jake doesn't understand that he's being serious. We are in the wilderness and he's acting like we are at a corner store. Because he goes, only if they find out. Who's snitching? None of us are snitching, and like tries to fist bump us. Like we're all in on this. And he's talking out loud saying, can't let one of those go by. That's a trophy deer. Like I'm talking, this guy is mad. He is a lunatic. And then he starts heading down to go check it out. And I'm watching this man awkwardly waddle down this hill. And I realize what's actually weird about this situation. I thought my ears were still ringing, but they weren't. It was as if everything went silent after he took the shot, which would make sense. Like, oh, a loud bang in the middle of the wilderness, everything goes quiet. The wildlife doesn't know what it is. But it was like everything went silent. The wind in the trees, like the sound of the leaves and the branches were gone. The gusts of wind completely stopped. There was no sounds of birds, no sounds of bugs. I'm talking dead silence. And as I'm watching this man go towards his fresh kill, his trophy deer. It's not even a deer, dude. It's a freaking elk. The elk is still standing. I see the red dot on its side where it was shot, but it didn't run away, didn't fall down. It was standing exactly where it was. And the other guy saw it at the same moment I saw it. And Ebro asked Chance, why isn't that thing down? Chance said, I don't know. And he stands up and starts following after Jake. So now we're all making our way down this steep, rocky hill that we weren't going to go down in the first place. We were going to hike all the way around it, but he's already down. So we have to catch up to him. Didn't even ask which way to go. Like doing something that without asking the guide, you roll an ankle out here. Like you're talking about life or death situations. And he's just taking risks, putting all of our lives at risk. But we get down there, we approach this elk, and he's circling it. Big smile on his face, like tapping its back and saying, I don't even have to taxidermy it. It's stuck right here for me. Must have paralyzed it, seized up on me. I'm talking obnoxious. I don't know if I'm conveying to you how obnoxious this guy is. And we're up close to it now, and I'm looking at the entry wound on the side of this beautiful creature, and I see the shockwaves of the bullet hitting it, rippling on the skin around the wound. And I'm staring at it, and it's like it's happening in slow motion. The bullet's already inside, but whatever impact that it made on the side of this elk, it's like it was in severe slow motion. I had to look at it for like a minute straight to see the waves slightly moving. And when I went around to the front of it and I looked in this thing's eyes, it looked alive. It just looked frozen, as if whatever was happening to it was in some type of time warp. And I'm looking at Chance and I'm looking at Ebro, and we are all noticing all of the irregularities about this, but Jake is oblivious. And he shouts over to Chance, so where do we cut it first? We got to cut it up and bring it back. It's a big one. Full backpacks for everybody. And I see Chance analyzing this entry wound, and I realize the sound still hasn't come back all around us. I haven't felt a gust of wind. It felt like something changed once he took that shot. Everything felt too still and too quiet. Chance, under his breath, commanded the group very clearly, very simply, we need to leave right now. Ebro and I took it dead serious. Whichever way, take us back. None of this is normal. But Jake objects. What do you mean leave right now? Leave all this meat here? You think I'm gonna go home empty-handed after that beautiful shot? Still bragging about his shot. I'm looking at Jake, utterly confused. Ebro's looking at this dude like he's about to give him an ultimate wedgie, but Chance makes the right decision, and he leans in to the delusions. And he goes, oh, Jake, we don't have all the tools with us. I know it's your first time, great shot. I mean, incredible for your first shot, but we gotta head back to base camp. We have some tools to thaw this thing out a little bit. See, it already froze. So we're gonna come back here tomorrow and we're gonna get everything. All the meat you could ever need, and we're gonna make sure that we get these antlers for you so you could put them up in your house. Jake accepts that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need those. Gotta put those on the mount. People need to know about this. We start heading back. Jake is bragging the entire time. The first 30 minutes will not stop talking about how intense that moment was when you take that shot and you take something's life. I'm like, Chance, take this guy's gun away. But after the first hour passed, I really started to get concerned, and I asked Ebro, is it just me or did things go quiet? Is that because he took a shot and everything like knows we're here now? And Ebro looks at me, he's like, dude, that's what I thought for the first 20 minutes. I haven't heard anything. It doesn't even feel cold without the wind anymore. It felt like the entire place almost like switched off. It felt like this immense wilderness with all of this wildlife, like it's unpredictable. But when that thing got shot, it was like somebody hit an off switch. It didn't have that same vibrance, that same intensity to it. And then I started to see the small game. Like we saw squirrels and rabbits all day. They're everywhere. And I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I felt like the squirrels were like looking at us. And squirrels always look at you. You know, like they're aware, they're prey. If you're walking by them, they're like keeping their eye on you till you pass. They even like stand up and look at you. But I felt like I was seeing all of these squirrels on their hind legs looking at us like they were like judging us. I don't know how else to explain it. And they weren't scurrying away or in a tree. It was like standing there, staring at us until we passed. And I saw like 6 of them do this exact same thing. And then we're passing this area where I see like a little jackrabbit. It's also not uncommon for like these jackrabbits to go on their hind legs, like they're looking for foxes and wolves that are hunting them. And I see 2 jackrabbits standing looking at us. It would not have been weird before that shot. They are looking out for predators. But for some reason I felt like ashamed. Like they knew what we did and they're like watching us leave their property. And I'm pointing it out. I'm like, Chance, have you seen something like that? And he's like, yeah, they do that. But I couldn't tell if he was lying to me to make me feel calm, or he's like, yeah, they just do that. They're like looking for wolves. And I point out a few of them to Ebro, and he's like, it's not the first time I've seen a squirrel do that. I'm like, dude, it's weird to me. And in like a weird way, I felt humiliated. I felt like the wilderness was looking at us, judging us, and it was humiliating. And we're about 30 minutes away from the campsite at this point, and I feel real humiliation because we turn around this corner and we could see into this clump of trees, and I see a couple figures standing there. I'm like, oh my God, is this gonna be some other hunters? Do they know what we did? Are they gonna ask us how the hunt is? We have to explain to them that this weirdo just shot the most elegant creature we've ever seen and we're ashamed and the squirrels are judging us. Taking a closer look and I'm like, what is that? Who are those people? They're about 50 yards away, they're into the tree line a little bit, and they're looking at us like they are judging us. It's almost like getting humiliated in a high school hallway, and like even the English teachers like looking at you with their arms crossed. Like everybody's looking at you sideways, like what did you do? We are ashamed of you. And then I realized what it was. It was 3 wolves looking at us ashamed, like they were disgusted, and they were standing on their hind legs like it was completely natural. And I grabbed Chance by the arm and I'm like, have you seen anything like that? And he goes, I've never seen anything like that. And these wolves are massive. I mean, they're like 5'8" on their hind legs. But also, wolves don't go on their hind legs. They're standing upright, bipedal, like it is normal. I felt like I was in the movie Toy Story and I had walked in on the toys standing up. I'm looking at these wolves, they're not even trying to hide it. They're standing up with their arms at their sides, just dangling there, watching us. 3 of them. Not one of them doing an odd movement. Like, oh wow, that one wolf could stand up. 3 wolves, perfectly balanced. It was like the entire wilderness thing was an act. Like these wolves are putting on a show when they're walking around on their hind legs and hunting and being wild animals. And Jake shot that elk and they were like, the show's over. Stand up, look at these guys. Think they could do whatever they want. The wilderness was minding its business, but now it's looking at us. Anything and everything. And we keep moving. And eventually, we can't see the wolves anymore. And Jake announces to the group that he needs a break. He sits down, he starts munching on some snacks, doesn't ask. We're only 25 minutes away from where we need to be. But he's like, nope, time for me to take a break. Like, okay. So we all slightly go into the tree line. We're all crouching down. I'm looking for other judgmental animals around us. It's completely silent. Then I start hearing some birds chirping. When I heard it at first, I was very relieved. Okay, the birds are gonna start chirping. The wind's gonna start blowing. We're gonna get back to the campsite. Hopefully Chance reports this guy. Maybe the last few days he doesn't have to be here because he just committed a crime. That has to be considered poaching. I could only imagine. And then I hear some more birds chirping from the other direction. Like, all right, things are going good. Then I hear a different kind of bird chirping from directly behind us. And I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, good, everything's coming alive. But I look at Chance, and he's looking up at the trees like he's terrified. And he looks like he's listening very intently. So I start looking around. I'm looking for the birds that are making the sounds. Why does he look so scared? And then I hear one from behind us, like to the left, and it doesn't sound like a bird. It sounds mostly like a bird, 90% like a bird, but a little bit off. It sounded like it was coming from something mimicking a bird. Like it was pretending. Then I hear a few more. They're a little bit out of rhythm. And then it seems like they're making bird sounds at each other, and they're closing in on our position because they're getting a little bit closer. And I see it in Chance's face that he recognized what was happening. This wasn't the first time that he heard this. And it was like the last one confirmed it for him because his knees buckled. He got as low as he possibly could. He grabbed Ebro's sleeve to pull him down. Ebro then instinctively grabbed mine and pulled me down. We both look at Chance, and he whispers to us, "Those are not birds. We need to run right now." So we basically start doing a crouching run. We're just following what Chance is doing. We need to get out of the area. We start moving before we even tell Jake. He sees us, and I kind of hear him go, "Oop," like an overly expressive, like dopey sound, like we're trying to get out of the way. And he missed the cue, so he's trying to catch up. Swear to God, this dude was like a cartoon character. But when we started moving, those little sounds from those birds started to get more frantic. The second we crouched, all of them started chirping at the same time. They were clearly communicating with each other. When we started moving, I don't speak bird. I don't know what they're trying to communicate through these various chirps, but they changed depending on what we were doing. And when we stopped for a moment behind a boulder, it was a very specific chirp. When we started going, it was the frantic chirps. It happened like 2 or 3 times, so I was like, these chirps, whatever these are communicating intelligently. They are reporting to each other what they are seeing us do. But we have no time to talk to each other. All we're doing is watching Chance's movements. I don't see anything when I'm looking around. I have no idea what's watching us. The only thing I could do is look at Chance's back and move when he moves. And we are doing this for what feels like forever. We were only about, 20-25 minutes away from camp. But when you're crouch running, the time doubles. And not just because you're moving slower, but because you're doing like a duck walk. Your quads are burning on already fatigued legs. And every time we would stop and look around and he would make sure the coast is clear, I would look behind us to see if anybody was following us. But I didn't see anybody. I only saw Jake's dopey face mumbling to himself. And not mumbling in a creepy way, like mumbling in a he's entertaining himself way. Or like doing internal commentary on random things around us. So we're like 15 minutes, my quads are burning, we're paused behind a tree. I look back and I only see judgmental squirrels looking at us in the distance. A rabbit here and there. Everybody's catching their breath. Everybody has to straighten out their legs and shake out their knees and feet for a second to continue doing this. And we can see the campsite from where we are, so we're in the home stretch. And I'm looking back, making sure nothing is stalking us, when I see something come over a hillside. I could faintly see it. It's very far away, and there's a lot of trees on this hillside too, so I'm only seeing it for moments before it's gone. But whatever it is, it's massive. It's clearly standing out against the light gray landscape. Like, yes, there's some trees and some green, but for the most part, the rocks on this hillside are light gray, and whatever it is dark. It is large and it is dark, and it's moving pretty effortlessly through this very difficult landscape. Yes, it's coming downhill, but it's almost like it's gliding, like it was made for this. But it's so far away, I can't tell what it is. It almost looks like a black cloud that's just a few inches off the floor, slowly gliding its way down this hillside towards us. But I knew it was coming towards us. It didn't look like it was making its way somewhere. It looked like it was beelining in our direction. And then I hear the signal from Chance to take off running towards the camp, like we just gotta get there. So I look back towards them, I stand up, I look back one more time before I start sprinting, and I don't see it anymore. It had entered a very dense area of trees, but it was still so far away. We were far ahead. We're gonna get to this campsite where we have all of our supplies, we have more weapons, we have fire, we have shelter, we could protect ourselves here. At least the idea of being there felt more comfortable, so I take off sprinting. I hear Jake struggling, huffing and puffing behind me with his clown feet slapping against the ground. I just hated everything about him at this point, but I'm high-kneeing it. We're closing in, we skid to a stop at the campsite. I'm looking around, our mules are there, our food's there, nothing has been tampered with. At least home base is safe. And I look back into the immense landscape that we've been hiking into every single morning, and it's just about dusk. It's about to get dark, and we look towards Chance for guidance. What do we do? What do we do in this situation? I'm trying to listen while I'm listening to his directions to see if I hear any birds chirping, but we don't really hear anything, so whatever that was doesn't seem to be nearby. And Chance is already getting a fire going because he knows the sun's going down, but we're trying to get some information out of him. And Ebro's egging him on, like, dude, why'd you make us run? What was that? Like, you have to tell us, then we could help you. What's happening? And as he's throwing together this fire frantically, he's like, guys, you need to understand something. When you're out here and you hear something that sounds like an animal, but is slightly off, it's not an animal, it's a person. They use it to communicate when they get closer to you, so you don't hear mumbles or words. They mimic the local birds, they're masters of it. And we're looking at him like, who are you talking about? And he goes, there's still some native groups in the area. It's how they hunt. I've only heard it a few times, but once you hear the twinge of that chirp and you know it doesn't sound right, you have to leave, because they wouldn't be doing that if they weren't hunting you. And then he gestures towards Jake and he goes, I don't think killing a sacred animal was a good idea. I don't think they take that lightly. I almost start hyperventilating because that was the last thing that I thought was in those woods. That was the last thing that I thought was out here. The idea of some predator mimicking birds is horrifying. The idea that we weren't alone and there was other people out there and they were mimicking birds to get up close to us, to stalk us, to hunt us. The idea that we disrespected their culture or their beliefs and they're unhappy with us while we are 8 hours away from the ranch that's an hour away from civilization and all we have is horses. Worst case scenario. This hunting trip was hard enough. Now we're gonna have a turf war with natives? I'm not ready for that. I don't want that. I didn't shoot that elk. So I'm burning with rage, even though the source of the rage is fear. And I look over to Jake and I'm about to start mouthing off at him. And I can't even do it. I can't even get myself to have the altercation because of what this man is like. He is kicking off his boots, digging into bags for snacks, and yawning obnoxiously. He's making dad sounds. Like, think about the most obnoxious sounds that your dad ever made early in the morning. Clanking dishes together, yawning, sniffing, grunting, laying down on the couch, stretching out, just making full on, I'm in my space and I don't care what you feel about it sounds. And we're all drinking him in, like, what is he doing? It's like he's getting ready for bed. And Chance announces to the group, we're all gonna have to take turns watching the camp tonight because of what happened. Like, he's letting Jake know, like, hey, don't get too comfy because we have night patrol now because of you. And Jake does this. First dibs on nap. He said, first dibs on nap. He laughed at Chance after he shot that thing. Didn't take him serious, basically honked with his mouth and said, first dibs, I gotta get some Z's. And he crawled into his tent and stretched and wiggled his toes from his feet that were still out of his tent because he wanted his feet to get warm from the fire. Didn't even ask, literally thought dibs was appropriate. The reality was, we didn't even trust him to stay awake. It was just another reason to hate him. So we look at the actual men that are here and we are deciding, what are we gonna do? Who is actually gonna go to sleep first? And me and Ebro think Chance should go to sleep and he should actually sleep for 2 in a row. Like, dude, get 4 to 5 hours. We'll tough it out because you need to be rested because you're gonna be the one that gets us home. If you're exhausted, that is so much worse. Like, I could doze off while I'm on the horse. I'll lean forward, tie my horse to Chance's. I could sleep on the way back, but he's the one that knows the way back. He has to get some rest. And we're like, we're fine. You go to sleep. And then me and Ebro look at each other and like, okay, which one of us? And Ebro's like, I don't feel that tired. I'll wake you up in like an hour or an hour and a half. So I'm like, okay, he volunteered. That's totally fine. I don't even take my shoes off. I just lay in the tent. I try to get as comfortable as I possibly can and see if I could doze off, and I did a little bit. And I wake up to Ebro kicking my boot. I'm up very quickly. I'm not trying to make him wait. I crawl out of my tent, and he looks at me very, very seriously. He's like, there's something very weird going on. It's like, nothing has approached us. I haven't really heard anything, but there's something out here. I know there is. And he walks me out to the edge of the campsite, and he points towards the trail that we came in on. It's not much of a trail, but it's a slight trail in the direction that I know we came. And the entrance to this trail kind of like disappears. It like curves into this small forest, so you could only see the entryway. And it looked as if there was 3 objects about 10 feet into the entryway. And Ebro points at them and he goes, think those are people. I didn't see them there at first. I looked in the other direction for a few minutes. When I looked back, I saw them. I haven't seen them move, but I think they're people. And I'm looking at them and they don't look like people. It's not like glaring that they're people, but they look like 3 objects, look pretty tall, and they're definitely there. And as I'm analyzing them, it's completely dark. It is nighttime at this point. It is pitch black out there. You have the stars of the sky, maybe some moonlight. It's not much. And we have our fire that only goes about 20 feet. And I'm looking into the darkness in that direction. And I say I was able to see objects because they looked a little bit lighter than the pitch black darkness. Like a little bit of the light from the fire was reflecting off of them so faintly, but they were less dark than their surroundings. But they weren't moving at all, so I'm not going to stare at them only. There's other things to look at. And I made it very clear to explain that they were less dark because there was something more dark. Directly in front of the camp, from the direction that we came that day, you couldn't see anything anymore. Like when it's bright out, you see mountaintops and you see sprawling fields. You could see miles into the distance. But when it's dark out, you can't see anything. You could see just this one hill right in front of us, like a little bit. But for the most part, it's pitch black. But there was something moving in the pitch black darkness, and it was as if it was pacing in front of our camp. It was darker than night. It was as if whatever this was, the blackness that was this object, this shape in the distance, it was so jet black that that's why it stood out. Like if you were walking around, it would be like your eyes are closed, but this thing was darker. I don't know how to explain it other than that, and I could see that it was moving, but I was trying to convince myself that maybe my eyes are just playing with me. Maybe it's an illusion because of how dark it is. I'm trying to look out into the black night, but it was hard to convince myself otherwise because it was moving and it was going back and forth. But I couldn't do anything. It wasn't getting closer. It wasn't making any sounds. It was just a faint, dark object. And I'm up for about an hour and a half. Ebro just wakes up. He goes, I'll take another shift. Try to sleep again. I warn him about what I'm seeing out in the darkness. And he goes, I saw it too. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I'm like, dude, they weren't. I tried to rest. Didn't happen. I get up after about 45 minutes, and me and Ebro are both on watch. One of us keeping our eyes on the 3 light objects on the trail, and the other one trying to pace this dark object that's circling our camp. And eventually you kind of feel the morning coming around. We're about an hour away from sunrise, most likely, and Chance gets up. He had about 4.5 hours of sleep at that point. He goes, guys, I'm good. Go lay down. Everything's gonna be okay. I'll keep watch. Both you go lay down, get some actual rest. And since it's Chance, we're like, that's all good. We feel better about that. We go lay down, and this was the first time I feel like I actually fell into like REM sleep. I was really sleeping, and I wake up the next morning to Jake screaming outside of my tent. I scramble out of my tent because I'm expecting Jake to be torn limb from limb. The way he's screaming, the way this man is shouting would lead me to believe that he would have to be missing a limb. One of those standing wolves better have Jake's arm hanging from its mouth, completely torn from his body to justify the sounds that he's making in the morning. My eyes spring open, and honestly the first thing that I thought was somebody would have had to have a beautiful night's sleep to have the energy to scream like this. And he did. He must have slept like an angel. He didn't take a turn, called dibs on resting, nobody woke him up. All good. He got out of the responsibility. And now I'm out of my tent. Ebro's scrambling out of his tent as well, thinking that somebody's attacking our campsite. And we both look at Jake menacingly because he's leaning over one of the mules that are laying down, and he's trying to tug something out from under it. We left some of the light stuff still on some of the mules, like basic little snacks and food. Nothing significant that would be cruel to the mule. But Jake's frantically screaming, trying to pull something out from under it. So we run up to him, trying to understand what he's doing. And he's shouting this, "My ube, my ube. It crushed my Jollibee." And he's making sounds like, in between screaming. Like he is a caricature of a person. And finally he yanks something out from under the mule and he holds it up. And there's like a purple smear all over like some white and red bag. And he holds it up to us and he's doing like a pouty face with his bottom lip and he says, "I brought an oob pie for day 3. I was gonna eat it on day 3. I really wanted to." We are looking at this man, not understanding what is going on in his head. I know I'm saying it a lot. I can't even tell you how odd he is. He keeps saying "my ube." We're in the wilderness and we are in danger and you're holding up a smushed purplish goop bag. And he keeps saying Jollibee. But the weirdest part is that he's not acknowledging the mule that he pulled the bag out from under. The mule's not laying down having a rest. The mule's dead. It is a dead animal. And he's pouting about his Jollibee when all of our mules are laid out on the ground, shriveled to death. They look like they've starved for weeks. The animals that carried in all of these supplies for us, the animals that are gonna carry it out, they're all dead. And he's whining about an ube pie. And he's also not acknowledging the 3 native people that are standing on the trail, guarding it. The objects that we saw the night before that we weren't sure. It's 3 men standing right there. They were there the entire night, and Jake is acting like they don't exist. Apparently it's all about his pie, his treat for day 3 that he really wanted to eat. And from behind us, we hear Chance call over to us. So we whip our heads around, and Chance is also talking to some natives. Luckily, the ones by the trail, they don't look aggressive. They're standing there calmly. And Chance seems to be having a rather pleasant conversation with the group of natives that are by him. So we trot up to him. He only calls me and Ebro over. He lets Jake continue to pout, who's now licking the purple cream off of the bag because he's 11 years old apparently. And we run over to Chance and we don't know how to greet these people, what's respectful and what's not. So we just kind of like tilt our heads and we're like, "Hello." Very basic greeting. And Chance introduces us to this native leader. He's a very kind man, speaks pretty good English, and he starts to explain to us that something very bad happened the day previous. I'm shooting glances at Chance and I'm like, "We know this, we were there. Do you think it has anything to do with the majestic animal that dimwit shot?" Like, I'm pretty sure that that's what he's gonna get at. And this native leader, even though he's very long-winded in talking about the land and the balance and how nature needs balance, I know what he's trying to get at. And yes, something tragic happened the day before. That's what he's telling us. And he's telling us that it's a life for a life, and the great bear demands balance. And I'm looking at Chance, I'm looking at Ebro. We had already killed the majestic white elk. Who's the great bear? Somebody asked that question, and I look at the rest of these natives that are with him, and I think they could all tell what we're curious about until Ebro finally says it. What does the great bear need from us, guys? Like, hey, we didn't do it. We weren't trying to step on anybody's toes. We kind of hate him too, so what's the game plan here? And very impressively, a couple of these natives start to do those bird calls that we heard. It was them. Chance was totally right. There were people stalking us, and it was these people. And they start doing the bird calls into the distance, into the direction that we came from the night before. And they do them in a specific pattern. They stop, they look back at us, and they kind of give us like a nod like you're about to see. And this black figure comes barreling from the distance over the slight hill. And I knew in that moment, that was exactly what I saw the night before. Because the way that it was moving, it was the same thing that I saw over my shoulder in that last stretch when we were getting to the campsite, coming down the hillside. And it was still pretty far away, and it still was reminiscent of some type of black cloud. And I'm looking at it approaching us, and I'm looking at the natives, and the leader is still explaining things. As he's letting this thing approach, they are aware that it's closing in on us. They seem completely calm. And he's explaining that Jake didn't just kill an animal the day before. He killed a spirit. He broke the balance. And he gestures towards the dead mules. And he goes, "That's just the start. We're all gonna end up like them unless balance is restored." And as this black cloud is still coming closer, it is massive. It is huge. And the closer it gets, the darker it looks. I can't see any details about it. The leader lets us know that he's not going to allow us to leave. And he also tells us that we only have a little bit of time for redemption. He said, once the white spirit hits the ground, there's no chance for any of us. At this point, Jake has made his way over to our group, and he's obnoxiously getting everybody's attention and saying, "You guys see that? What is that thing? Never seen anything like that." Literally like that. And as this black cloud gets closer, I start to notice some more details, a little bit more about its shape. I'm getting a different angle on it because it has to kind of zigzag down to us. And it looks like a bear. It's so big. It looks like the size of a polar bear. I've never seen a grizzly up close, but it seemed bigger than what I thought a grizzly was. But there's no distinguishing features. It's jet black. It is just completely black. It is so dark that it looks like a cutout, like you cut the shape of a bear out of the landscape and there was nothing behind it, like a black void. You couldn't see its eyes, its claws, its fur. It looked like a black void in the shape of a bear, and it moved like a bear, like it was alive. And it came right up to us and it sat down like it was a good dog, and it was looking around very calmly. But even when it was sitting on its butt, its front legs down, its posture was up. It was like 3 feet taller than me. This thing was almost 10 feet tall, sitting. It was enormous. And as I was trying to see, like, is the sun not hitting it right? Why am I not seeing details? It almost looked like it was sitting as if it was inviting us, like its chest was an archway. And I could almost feel like there was a subtle gravity towards it. Looking at this thing that looks like a cutout of reality, but it's moving its head intelligently. It's almost acknowledging everybody. And it has some level of a gravitational pull. It felt like somebody was pinching my shirt and just slightly pulling me towards it, whatever it was. And Jake is just yapping. "Never seen anything like that. It's huge. Do you guys own that? Is that your pet?" To the natives. He's asking, "Do you own that?" And the native lifts his hand and points at Jake, and he says, "You must go in. It needs to be you." I have a slight sigh of relief because please enter that. Please enter the black void, Jake. I'd like to never see you again. But I also know that Jake is a stranger to accountability. I jumped to the conclusion, I know why it has to be him. It has to be him because he killed it. He killed the white deer, therefore restore balance, take accountability, enter the great bear so we could leave alive. Because everything's cool right now, but once people start refusing, let's see how nice these natives are. Let's see how nice this massive bear is. And now everybody's looking at Jake. This is his moment of redemption. Show us you're a man. Jake chuckles and he goes, "Not it." The man said, "Not it," and like looked around looking for a laugh, like everybody was gonna laugh along with them, not taking it serious. And we let the native leader speak, and he says, "If you don't go in there, he'll kill all of us." And he's gesturing towards the massive bear. And Jake looks this respected leader right in his face on his land. And at first he nods like he's understanding him. And he goes, "Nose goes," and puts his pointer finger on his nose, like we were on a playground and we're trying to decide who's it for tag. Ebro and I have to talk to him. We immediately approach him, we get really close to him, and we start trying to reason with him, basically begging him, like, you have to listen to these people. Did you not see what happened yesterday? Did you not see the squirrels and the rabbits and the wolves standing up looking at us? Did you not notice that the wilderness went silent? Do you think it's normal that the mules are shriveled up and dead? That a Native American tribe had to come here? Do you not see the massive figure sitting in front of us? And I'm a few words away from screaming in his face, "Will you please take responsibility for your actions? Can we have any level of accountability from you?" But before I get any of those words out, Chance grabs my shoulder and stops me, as if he has a better plan. And Chance kind of like leans over and like punches Jake in the shoulder and goes, "Come on, dude." Kind of like meeting him where he's at with his jokey tone. He goes, "Just do the party trick for him." Like gesturing at the Native Americans. Like, it's just one of their rituals. They've made me do it plenty of times. It's a great shot yesterday. Let's just get this over with. They'll get out of our hair. Like, don't be rude to him. It's normal. And Jake kind of like lightens up. Like, oh, somebody thought he was being funny. Like, all right, yeah, we're all in on the bit here. Like, okay, I don't want to be rude. I totally get it. I totally get it. And Jake takes like a few steps forward, like really small steps, and he leans over and he's looking at the native leader, looking around at everybody like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then he grabs Ebro by the collar with both hands and he shouts, "You first," in a joking tone, and tries to pull and push Ebro into the chest of this bear. And he does it as hard as he can. This man stepped forward after joking twice about "not it," and now he tried to forcefully throw Ebro in, saying you first. He didn't do it jokingly. He wasn't like, grab and light push. He did a joking tone of voice, but very serious with his physical expression. Luckily, he couldn't move Ebro, obviously, and Ebro just grabbed a collar tie back and grabbed wrist control, did a light pivot step, and hip tossed this guy. Like, I'm talking a perfect Harigoshi. If you don't know judo, that just means Ebro got his hips under him and Jake's feet were scraping the sky. Like, I'm talking beautiful execution, and there was nothing as sweet as seeing his feet fly past my face and hearing the wind leave his lungs as he clattered into the ground. Ebro immediately postured up and got knee on belly, and Chance and I stepped into action. We closed the distance. Ebro takes his knee off his belly. He still has his collar and his wrist. I grab his belt and his ankle. Chance goes around to the other side, grabs his other wrist, also grabs his belt, and we have this horrible dude off the ground within a split second. He still doesn't even have his wind back, and we have him up at our shoulders. We all take a few steps and we launch him into the great bear void. Oh my God, did it feel sweet, sending that full-grown man into the air, hopefully to never see him again. And I'm watching him glide through the air, complete surprise on his face. Complete surprise on his face. It was as if he was realizing in that moment that he was hated by everybody around him because he was completely in his own world before that. But watching us all in a split second conspire and grab him, and now he's being launched into what he was trying to avoid, he recognized it. And I watch him go into the chest of this great bear, but I see him come out the other side, and he hits the ground on the other side. And he's looking at us with that fear and disgust. And he's laying on the ground, scurrying back, getting distance from us, kind of like muttering like, how could you? Like, oh my God, you guys just did that to me? Like, I'm the odd man out here? I thought I was the cool guy. And the native leader is shouting, no, no, no. And I saw it from the corner of my eye when we were launching him. I was too excited to throw him, even though I saw the native leader's hand go up and he was like signaling like no. And then after Jake hit the ground, he expresses the other part of this. He has to do it willingly. He has to go through himself. We cannot force balance here. And then Chance starts to try to reason with him. And he's like, Jake, you have to. Just trying to double down on what the native leader said, but Jake had fully lost trust. Chance grabbed him too. He was just playing buddy-buddy with him. And Jake stands up, he yells, screw you, and starts sprinting into the backcountry of Montana, just away from us, away from all of the supplies, no real gear with him, still holding his Jollibee bag with ube cream smeared all over it, running away, doesn't have anything. And the native leader looks at us and he says, you guys can't let him die. I was hoping like, all right, maybe he runs into the wilderness, dies from the elements, that restores balance, like he's out here. But he's like, no, you can't let him die. He has to voluntarily enter the Great Bear. So all of us mobilize. We have to start chasing him down. Everybody starts running. The natives, us, the natives that were guarding the trail, all of us are in pursuit of this guy who's shouting and running away, and he's doing it so weird. He's like making a performance out of it. He's shouting back at us, you'll never catch me. He's acting like a bank robber in an old Western. Like he has one-liners. He's throwing Jack Sparrow lines at us. And he's going and going. And he's hiding behind things. And he's trying to duck and he's like peeking out from behind them. He had a pretty big head start on us. So as we're trying to close the distance, he's stopping at certain points. And he's putting his hands up. He's like saying like, you got me. And then he takes off running again. And he's peeking out from behind rocks. And he's saying things like, shoo. Like, go away, shoo, I don't want you anymore. I'm like, what is wrong with this man's brain? And eventually, we start to close in on him. But he's entered like the forest area, so there's a lot of foliage. Like, it's hard to keep track of him. And at one point, we don't really see him, and we're walking and we're searching for him, but he can't control his heavy breathing. And we walk by this fallen tree that's like hollowed out, and all of us hear him huffing and puffing inside of this tree. Like, I'm talking comical huffing and puffing. And we look inside of it, and once I make eye contact with him, he covers his mouth with his hands, like he's a girl in a horror movie hiding in a locker. And then he goes, okay, you got me, and he comes out of the tree. We're fully surrounding him, and he's getting his breath back, and he's like, what do you need me to do? And we tell him that we need him to enter the Great Bear. You need to restore balance. It has to be you. And he goes, you know what, guys? I think I've seen the error in my ways. And at that point, the great bear had sat down next to us. Apparently he had been following us as well. And he's breathing, he's taking a few breaths, and he starts saying goodbye to everybody. And he's talking to us like he's Tony Stark about to make a sacrifice. He's going one by one, and he's like, Chance, you were a great guide. You changed my life, my perspective. Doug, Ebro, I wouldn't ask for any better hunting partners. He even like looks at the native group and he's like, you people inspire me, the way you're connected to the land. And he starts taking like deep breaths, and he's saying things like the moment of truth in between his deep breaths. We're like, okay, he's gonna do it, but he's gonna make a show of it, whatever. And then he takes off sprinting. He finds a gap in the circle and he pushes back one native. He like stiff arms him and he's sprinting again. He had only done that to catch his breath. He was lying and BSing and buying himself time so he could recover his stamina, and he takes off running again. And we're in the same exact situation. But this time he only had about half the stamina left. But the issue is that we were right near a cliff. He got to a cliffside and now he had all the leverage. He's standing on the cliff and he's saying, I'll do it, I'll do it. He's threatening to jump off. And we're all standing there saying like, get away from the ledge. Like, the ground isn't even stable, dude. And then he starts claiming that we're jealous of him. He's talking about his legendary elk shot right in the heart, that he was the only hunter that was able to do it. He was calling the natives jealous, and he was saying that we were trying to take this away from him, that his wife needed to see what he was capable of. Like, wife? I'm looking at his hand. He wasn't wearing a ring this entire time. And he's saying things like, if he's going down, we're going down with him. And he's even pretending to jump off every time we take a few steps closer. I wanted to shout, do a flip, but I didn't feel like it was appropriate for the situation. I knew he wouldn't do it. He's too self-involved. He loves himself far too much to jump off that cliff, I know for sure. But if he slips, that's an issue. And I don't know what we're gonna say. I'm gonna start shouting profanities at him, telling him how little accountability he has, how little of a man that I think he is. But Chance has a much better idea, and he does the only thing that works with guys like this. If there's one thing that Jake will respond to, it's poking his ego. And Chance goes over to the group of natives and he pulls out one of like their big looking ones. Like, the dude has like paint on his face and he's got a pretty cool outfit, slick back hair, really high cheekbones. Dude looks like a Native American Powhatan. And he shouts over to Jake and he goes, this is their strongest warrior. This man right here is this tribe's strongest warrior, their best hunter. But watch this, Jake. And he has this hulking individual walk into the chest of the great bear and come out the other side. And he goes, look, Jake, he's not even worthy. This man, their best man, is not even worthy. And I'm not really sure what he's doing, because I know that it has to be the guy that killed the white elk, and he has to do it voluntarily. But when that goes through my head, I realize, oh, Jake doesn't know that. And I see Jake's face change a little bit. Chance is hyping up this guy. He is their best fighter, their best hunter, their best warrior. He can't even save us, but you can. And he's saying things very blatantly to Jake. You're the only one man enough, the only one strong enough to bear the responsibility of restoring balance. Out of all of us here, you're the only one that can do it. You're the only one that's worthy. Only you could have made that shot. None of us could have done what you've done. And I see Jake nodding his head and saying things like, yeah, he's right. I am the only one. Like, he's agreeing with what Chance is saying. He even says, look, Jake, it took 3 of us to try to get you to do it. You almost got Ebro in there by yourself. If we didn't step in, you would have done that easily. I could see Ebro like put his eyebrows down, like, no, he was absolutely not gonna get me in there. But Jake gives like one of those nods like, you're totally right, I had him. If you guys didn't step in, I was totally gonna reverse position, get him in there. He's eating it up, and Jake starts to come away from the cliff. And he's saying things like, you guys have finally come to your senses. Like, he fully agrees with all of this absolute BS that Chase is peddling. And he's saying things like, you're right, it has to be me. I am the chosen one. And he has his like hands out, his palms out, like he's Jesus walking towards us. Like, we should get on our knees and start worshiping. And as he's walking up to the great bear, he says something like, this'll show her. And I could only imagine that he was talking about his wife that he didn't even wear a ring for. And he has his chest out and he gives us all of this look. I'm expecting him to take off running again. I'm ready to tackle him. Like, he's doing this to get away from the cliff. He's catching his breath and he's gonna start sprinting. But he walks directly into the chest of this great bear. I peek around the other side. He doesn't come out, disappears completely. And in that exact instant, we hear the buzz of the bugs, we hear the actual birds start chirping, and I get a gust of cold wind on my face. I see the grass flowing, I see the trees moving. It's like everything turned back on. And the great bear stands up and it turns around and it starts walking away. We're all watching it. Still just a silhouette of a bear. But as it gets about 50, 100 yards away, it starts fading into light browns, into fur, into a grizzly bear. But it's not even looking back. It's not interested in us. It's like its task is finished. And once the bear is completely out of sight, all of us are looking back at Chance because we don't even understand how that worked. We don't know what he did, why he did it. And he sees all of us looking at him confused, like, how did you convince that dude to do that? And he looks at everybody with a smile on his face and he goes, my sister dated a narcissist once. If you stroke their ego, they'll do just about anything. I didn't even know what a narcissist was, but apparently Jake was a textbook narcissist and Chase played him like a fiddle, and we made our way back to our campsite, still with some things unsure. And when we get back up to the camp, I'm expecting a very hard few days, but the mules are up. They're alive, they're well, they look happy, they look fed, they look hydrated. And Ebro and I look at Chance and we ask him, what's the plan? What are you going to say about him? What are we going to do? And he rubs his hands together and he says, he strikes me as the type of guy that drove everybody out of his life. I don't think anybody's looking for him. And then he casually nods towards the vast wilderness. He says, I think we got some hunting to do. Unless you guys want to go home empty-handed. And that week, up until that point, was the hardest week of my life, physically and mentally. But hardship becomes character, and we still had a job to do. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. I hope you've been enjoying the stories recently. If this is your first time on the channel, your first video, please binge the entire channel. If you like this one, you'll like all of them. Please check to make sure you're subscribed. Please like the video if you haven't already. And please give us a 5-star review on a podcast platform if that's where you're listening. It helps so much. Thank you all so much for watching. We love making these videos for you, and we're really excited to hit 600,000 subscribers. The goal is to get to 1 million sometime in 2026. And if you like this video, YouTube thinks you would also like this one. And just a reminder, if you guys want to order some AG1 using our discount code, please click the link that we put below. AG1's awesome. They sponsored this video and we really appreciate it.